Let me start with you and on how Speaker Pelosi has positioned Liz Cheney, who will basically assume the role of the ranking member. Smart move?
Very smart move. And she's up for this job. She will be very good at this job. She knows how to handle herself in front of the press. She knows how to keep this very calmly based on the facts and not allow the Democrats to go off on some kind of anti-Trump thing. This will really be about what happened that day and why it happened that day. And Trump will definitely figure into that. But Liz Cheney is going to be terrific at this job. And you know who knows it? Kevin McCarthy. So when he said today, call them Pelosi Democrats, I mean, he just looks silly. He looks like a little kid who hasn't gotten his way and doesn't know how to deal with it. I really do think that even if she adds more Republicans, they're in a strong position now to justifiably say this has, in fact, been a bipartisan effort.
I want to show you, Jackie, some of the sound that Claire's talking about today, the feeble effort on Kevin McCarthy's part to smear the Republicans serving on the committee and their reaction to it.
Some Republicans have been saying that the GOP should play ball on this committee. You could get the three.
Who was that? Adam and Liz?
Well,
aren't they kind of like Pelosi Republicans?
Pelosi Republican.
Well, look, we're about this very serious business here. We have important work to do, and I think that's pretty childish.
Look, it's childish. We're doing big things right now. We're getting to the answers of the worst attack on the Capitol since the War of 1812. You can call me whatever names you want. And I just believe that, look, bottom line, I'm an elected member of Congress. I'm a Republican.
Jackie, the threats are pretty hollow, too. I think your reporting has pointed out that there's not much that Kevin McCarthy can do other than maybe say things. And you can tell that Kevin McCarthy spends all of his time on Fox News because his comments there in the Rose Garden sounded ludicrous.
Yeah, Nicole, and as Adam Kinzinger just told us right there, he shrugged off those threats and said it says far more about the status of the Republican Party right now than it does about him and Liz Cheney. But that's exactly why these sorts of attacks we're seeing from Republicans that really amplified over a weekend. That's why we're going to be hearing from these 4 police officers mostly to kick off this hearing tomorrow. We just spoke with Adam Kinzinger and had a background briefing with Adam Schiff, who isn't the chairman, but has a lot of experience with dealing with these kinds of high-profile investigations. And he said that his main goal is to make sure that these police officers communicate the physical and emotional trauma that they've been through, try to set the stage for a public that has been fed a lot of disinformation and lies about what happened on January 6th, a reality check about what they're struggling with in the aftermath of defending lawmakers and reporters and everyday citizens and really protecting democracy. So we're going to see a lot of video footage, audio footage, hear this firsthand testimony. Adam Schiff told us we're even going to see new video that has not previously been seen by the public, although he adds that he doesn't believe the American public is even well aware of how the events went down on January 6th. So this is sort of an introductory hearing for the public.
Charlie, as I'm listening to Jackie's reporting, and I've been reading it to catch up myself, these were not victimless crimes. The crime of lying about the insurrection left the law enforcement officials who the political affiliation was not known to anyone, still really isn't. But the trauma that was done to them happened on live TV. We all saw it with our own eyes. Right. And for Republicans to have denied their heroics, to have denied the brutality, to have denied the gruesome nature of their beatings at the hands of Donald Trump supporters is almost a crime on top of a crime. I want to read something that one of the officers said about the pain physically and psychologically that he's been through. This is from somebody who's been on this show, Officer Gannell. Quote, "I can be fine now and see or hear something, and next thing I get tears and I get emotional," said Gannell, who was hurt when rioters tried to yank away his ballistic shield, threw a speaker at him, struck him in the face with a pole, and sprayed him with chemical irritants. Quote, "I tried to be strong," he said of the months following the riot. "I tried not to show my emotion. But once he said he retreated to a quiet space at his home in Virginia, away from his wife and 9-year-old son, quote, "I completely broke down." The horror and the disgrace of the Republican Party, led by Kevin McCarthy's treatment of these officers, will also be on display.
It will, and I expect that the testimony will be very, very compelling, will be very, very dramatic, and will, in fact, make it very difficult for the public not to recognize the assault on law enforcement. But you also have to just, recognize the incredible political karma of the way this is playing out. And Claire McCaskill is absolutely right when she talks about Liz Cheney's role and how strong she is going to be. Kevin McCarthy's goal was to exile her, was to make her a non-person. And now, look, she's going to be the grown-up in the room. Adam Kinzinger is going to be the grown-up in the room. While you have Kevin McCarthy out acting childish, you're also going to have counter-programming from some of the members of the Sedition Caucus who are going to be complaining about how unfair the victims were treating. If you wanted to choreograph the worst possible political scenario, it's hard to do a better job than what Kevin McCarthy has done. Also, I hope that people, as they watch this testimony tomorrow, understand that all but 2 Republicans in Congress did not want you to hear this. Trump supporters have gone to the wall to prevent this hearing from taking place. And I think that that's a point that needs to be made over and over and over again, that these voices are being heard over the objections of Republicans in the Senate and the House.